And again, thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Transforming the Digital Campus Experience with the NextGen app, presented by Ryan Seilhamer, Director of Mobile Strategy and Innovation at the University of Central Florida. So just a few words about our presenter today, Ryan Seilhamer. Ryan is an award-winning mobile app product manager at the University of Central Florida with nearly 20 years of experience in ed tech and distance learning. He has served in many roles, including web development, multimedia production, and integration of technology and teaching learning. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me just fine before I start here? Just want to make sure. All right.
Yep, I can hear you just fine. So can our listeners.
Sounds great. Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about transforming the digital campus experience with a next-gen application. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about UCF's story, but I'm also going to show some examples of other universities because one thing I've learned with building a mobile application or almost anything in technology, especially in higher education, having your community and working with other people is really, really important. So let me go and jump in just a little bit more about myself. There we go, PowerPoint. So anyways, so my name is Ryan Seilhamer, just like you saw, Assistant Director of Mobile Strategy and Innovation. And I'm housed under the Division of Digital Learning. And I've been at university since 2000. And said I've held many different roles. And really what I focus on in my day-to-day job is really split 50-50 between academic mobile projects and campus life mobile projects. So in addition to UCFMobile, which we'll be talking about today, I also do things like we work on a mobile attendance project, work on a clicker project, and we also oversee the LMS, our Canvas, the mobile aspect of that as well. Now, a little bit about UCF, in case you're not familiar. We're a fairly newer university. We're 1963. We have over 70,000 students, and we're a very large centralized campus. We're about 13 miles east of Orlando, and the majority of our students stay on one campus, our main campus. And we do have over 200 majors in 3 other locations. We have our College of Medicine, we have our Rosen School of Hospitality Management, which is down near Universal Studios, and we also have our UCF Downtown, which is a new campus that opened up in fall, which is downtown, which is a partnership between Valencia and UCF. So we are growing a little bit, but said again, just one thing to know, we are a very large centralized campus. Now, we want to know we want to know if our students own these devices. So every year we do a large survey and ask students, do you own a smartphone? And in our last one done at the end of 2018, 99.8% of our students said they own a smartphone. In fact, out of over 4,000 students that responded, only 7 did own a smartphone. So we know that any investment that we can make in mobile technologies on campus is definitely going to be worthwhile to us to do because we know the students own this technology and they use it quite a bit. Now I'm going to focus a lot on UCFMobile today. This is why we're here. We're here to talk about the campus app, but a little bit of background on the application. It was released in 2011 for iOS and then Android the year after. We have almost about 275,000 downloads now. And we first started out using a Blackboard product called Mobile Central, Mosaic. But around 2016, 2015, we realized that we needed to move to a platform that would help us with the future, help us innovate and help us quickly be able to iterate what we wanted to do. So we moved to Moto Labs in 2016. Over 20 million page views per year, and we've been lucky enough to win a few app awards as well. Now we show that people download it. It's been around for a while. But I think the most important stat for us is usage. And we do surveys every year as well for this one. And this is our late 2018 survey. And we show that 90% of freshmen use the UCF mobile app regularly, and 84% undergrad use it regularly. And we've put a lot of investment into orientation this year. So we think those freshman and sophomore numbers are definitely going to jump up a little bit. So we're really happy that we give our students a product that they feel that they need to use regularly. Now, one piece of advice before I get started, and if people, because I always say, if you have one piece of advice to give me, what would you give me? And it's really this, it's don't let perfection slow you down. You know, I've talked to other universities, I've worked with other universities that they wait for the perfect solution. They don't give any experience to their students or users while they're waiting for that perfect solution. And sometimes that doesn't just take 6 months, that takes a year, that takes 2 years or more. while you're trying to find the perfect mobile solution and experience for your students. But you know what? Plan and iterate over time, and you can really build a really great product, and students will be happy just to have something. So here's an example. This is UCF Downtown, which we released in which opened up in 2019, fall 2019. But late last year, we realized that we needed to start giving some sort of experience in our application for UCF Downtown, because we had students that were registering, students that were going to go there, we had people that are coming for orientation. So we wanted to represent something. And this is what we started with. It was pretty basic, but it got students into that persona, got them into using that experience. But 8 months later, when we opened up the university, we had a lot more things for them. And this is what we built throughout the whole year. So we started off simple, but we were able to build something over time that was a full experience. So start somewhere. Now we're going to talk a lot today about this next generation app. And the next generation app, I see it in two ways. First one is a true companion app for students. So this is not something that's just kind of fun or something they have on the side or something they look at, you know, once a semester. This is something that they use day to day. It has information that they need every day, everything from their LMS to the LMS, SIS, to email, to, you know, to things like dining, parking, transit, the things they need every day. And the next one is this multifunctional. It's multifunctional across all aspects of the campus. And it does go beyond simply just informing, and it elevates the students for success. So instead of just simply giving students information, you're presenting that information in a way that maybe they didn't expect, or maybe you're presenting that information in a way that let's say, so we start talking about the hyper-personalized experience, the idea of, hey, I didn't know I needed that information, and you presented that information to me through maybe a push notification or dashboards, but really being there for you when you didn't even know you needed it. So moving to that experience as well. So this is what I see a next generation application being. And one way to get to that next generation app is looking at this transformation curve right here for the next generation app. And this is what I'm going to focus a lot today on my presentation. We're going to look all the way from inform, where it's kind of the beginnings of your application, all the way up to elevate, where we look at that hyper personalized next gen application across campus. So we're going to go for this curve. So join me with that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is inform. And when we look at inform, really it's all about amplifying your brand and bringing in users, particularly with events and first year events. So this is really beginning of your app. You put in some of the basic features, but now how do you start really growing your application? So brand is really important to students. And I'm really happy that Modo Labs gives us a lot of different ways to express our brand. We have a lot of different templates. They have a lot of out of the box tools for us to be able to make sure people see our colors, see our logo, see our fonts, and also see the different features we have in there. You want to make your application look like a first-party experience. When students put that icon on put their icon on the springboard on their phone, you want them to be able to see that logo and be proud of it. Another good experience here is the University of Houston. University of Houston really does a really good job with their brand. And, you know, they're using these bold fonts and they're bold colors, and they're really sticking to it. You know, when you use this application, you are using an application that is from the University of Houston. And here's another one as well. I really like this one from the Rhode Island School of Design, that what they do is that the main screen, so the main screen of their application where they have their icons and their navigation, they allow their students to build the artwork. So it's not just showing your brand, it's injecting your culture and everything into the app as well. So really interesting ways to show off your brand, which is really popular and really important. And another one that I really like is this one we just released earlier this year. And what I liked about Modo Labs is the fact that they take care of a lot of the core that we need, but they also work on fun things. And what a fun way to show our brand off than using these sticker packs here for iOS and being able to show everything from you know, class of 2023 to family weekend. So first year events. So first year events are really, really important. And events are important in particular. But if there's a piece of advice I would really want you to leave with is that if you're looking to grow your adoption in your app, start with your freshmen, start with your sophomores, start with your newer students. because they're the ones that you can make a real good impression on, and they need a lot of information when they enter the university. So one of the biggest ones that we look at here is orientation. If you have a mobile application for your campus, an orientation is a must. It's a really great way to get students used to using your application, but it's a great way to get them used to the campus and all the different services as well. So having that in their pocket brings a sense of relief to them. And when we use this here at UCF, not only did students find it valuable, but our parents found it valuable as well. So almost every freshman and every parent this in 2019 downloaded this for the orientation process. And the next one I'll talk about briefly is just move-in. Another one. We have over 8,000 students that move on campus every year, and just like a lot of campuses, you know, bringing students in is there's a lot of coordination to it, and there's a lot of stress. So letting those students know, hey, this is where you park, this is where you can check in, this is when you can check in. Here are maps to get around. Hey, you know, when you get back to your room, here's some stuff to set up your room. You want to set up your internet? This is how you do it. And then also move-in events. So when people move in, they can get comfortable right away and know the different events going on. So really focusing on those first-year students, particularly for events. Now the next one is engage. Now when we look at engage, we're really starting to look at that social campus experience. And we're looking at trying to start creating, it's the beginnings of creating that real personalized experience as well. So we're bringing that community together. And one way to do that easily is using personas. You can use locations as well, but we're looking at these personas. We're looking at, I log into the application, I tell that application who I am, and I get an experience that's specific to me. So for instance, you can see right here, here's a bunch of different personas we have from UCF Online to UCF Downtown. You notice that we use this launchpad springboard of icons for a lot of these different personas, but we talked to our students and that's what they wanted to use. So we were able to give the students what they wanted. But when you look at alumni here in the center, they wanted a totally different representation. So we were able to use one of the many templates from Modo Labs to build a different experience for them specifically. So a lot of power, a lot of functionality to do exactly what we wanted to do. Now, personas, once you know your personas, you can also go to your persona type events as well. So not just giving them information, but taking it a step further. So for instance, right here on the left side, we have our Pegasus Palooza. It's our first week experience for our freshmen and our transfer students, being able to acclimate to the campus and start having some fun and meeting some people. In the center, we have our family weekend, which is really good for our students, but also our parents and friends of the campus. And then something like commencement on the right side, where it's really important to our graduates and their family and friends. So you're starting to look at this, at different ways to do this. And here's some examples from Notre Dame. Welcome weekend, very similar to Pegasus Palooza. Right there in your pocket, you know what you need before you arrive. You have your schedules, and you can navigate the campus, and you don't have to go search for that information. Right here, we have the graduate student orientation, different information, particularly the schedules and calendars. And then one here on the right, the Alumni Association Leadership Conferences. Simply linking to conferences is really powerful. So maybe it's not a campus-wide event. Maybe it's a small conference for a specific area or specific audience, and you can do that as well. So from these real wide events like homecoming to these smaller events like conferences, looking at personalizing those events is really powerful. Now the next thing we're talking about in the beginning of communication is simply just push notifications. And arguably push notifications is one of the most unique features to mobile in the sense that I get a push notification, I can check it on my watch, I can read it on my watch, I could tap into it and just get a preview it on my phone, or I can jump in and read the full message and interact with the links and the graphics in there as well. And as universities battle back and forth for how do we communicate with students? How do we make our communication stick? What is the right kind of communication to send at the right time? Push notifications definitely is something that you should be using at your university, because look at the stat here from ZipStripe. It takes an average of 6.5 hours for students to open an email, but it takes 15 minutes for a push notification. And granted, I know sometimes email is going to be, there might be information in the way you write an email is going to be different than you write a push notification, but using these together and not just solely relying on email is a really smart way to interact with students today, 2019. So push notifications are really powerful. A couple different ways push notifications could be used, just a few. There's probably 100 different ways or more. Academic, so right here, Portland State University says, registration opens soon. Check out these helpful tools. So it's being proactive. It's saying, hey, this is about to happen, engage with it. Or here on the right side, we have UCF with our Summarize program. And this is where we were trying to get students to register for online classes before they left for the summer. So academic, trying to get students to register, trying to keep them engaged so they'll be successful and ultimately graduate. Another one, emergency, safety, emergency, safety, anything related to emergencies is vitally important on any campus today. So you have one here from the University of Houston talking about flooding, all the way to, on the right side, we have this tornado warning at our Rosen campus. So being able to give students another outlet to get these emergency notifications or any sort of safety warnings is something that we really want to take advantage of. The next one that I really like, and this one's really powerful, they're opt-in notifications. And what's great about this is that I can go ahead and give stakeholders their own communication channels that we do not have to control, they can control directly. And what they can do is they can add their own messages and their own notifications to these channels. And then students can come in and subscribe to the messages that they really want. For instance, here on the left side, we have our Knights Pantry. Our Knights Pantry does a really good job at getting food to students who need it, getting them clothes. They have a channel, and students are able to subscribe to that channel. And when there's different events or Frozen Food Fridays, they can get those notifications and take action. And before, they didn't have a channel to do that. All the way to our shuttle tracker here on the right side, where if you ride a shuttle, you can subscribe. And if there's shuttle issues with any of our shuttles, you'll get a notification directly to your phone. So you'll know why your shuttle didn't show up and be able to have that stakeholder communicate that directly with the students is really powerful for us. And the last thing on talking about social is creating a marketplace. And this is a newer product from Moto Labs. And we're exploring it. We're really interested in the peer-to-peer aspect of the marketplace because it's really nice because it's a peer-to-peer. And what happens is the students log into this peer-to-peer marketplace. So they know they're interacting with other UCF students. They know they're not interacting with strangers or people they don't know outside of that campus community. And they can give stuff away for free and they can sell stuff. And hopefully this can create some friendships and social connections as well. So just another way of looking about how to make your app a little bit more social and communicate a little bit better. And the next one I'm going to talk about is empower. As we're really starting to turn up that curve here. And a lot of this is about crowdsourcing to create innovative features. You're really starting to empower not just your users, but your stakeholders. So you can start creating a more personalized experience where you're exposing better data and allowing students to be able to make decisions with that data. So one thing I always say when I present is we're not experts on all things. I know a lot about distance learning. I know a lot about mobile technology, but I don't know a lot about safety, or I don't know a lot about move-in or advertising or advising or campus dining. There's experts on campus that know how to interact with that and know how to create stuff with that. So we lean on them all the time to create this content. And without partnerships, our app would even be a quarter of what it is right now. One thing I like about Moto Labs is Moto Labs gives me the ability to be able to to delegate content management to these domain experts, which is really great. So for instance, I can give them access to granular content and feature deployment. So I can go ahead and I can give them access to just the things that they need inside the application and not the things that they don't need, which is really great for many reasons. They feel safe in their own little environment and they're not affecting other parts of the app. And that goes with the next thing here with these workspaces. So we can now create a workspace. For instance, let's say someone's working with orientation or a department's working with orientation. We can make sure within their workspace they have their modules and their data sources and anything that they need to be able to build that section of the application. But the question always comes to is how do we not lose control of the application? And that's where deployment comes in. So there's a whole mechanism in place for people to request to be deployed into the production application. So even you, if you're managing the app or you have a team managing the application, you can still have an overview of what is being done before it hits the main application. So you give people the ability to do what they want to do. You give them that freedom, but you still have those checks and balances to make sure you keep the integrity of that app. Now, going deeper with data. So what I mean by this is that what we talked about so far is a lot of information. But here, when you're talking here, you're presenting data to students and in a way that allows them to make decisions, allows them some freedom to make choices. So here on the right side, we have our parking services. This is a partnership we have with parking services and our UCF IT to pull in this information. So students can go and say, garage A looks open. I'm going to go park in garage A because garage D is almost full. So they have the ability to see this stuff as they're heading to campus and be able to make decisions. Here in the center, we have shuttles. Being able to simply look at the shuttles that are out on and around campus, seeing where they're at, when they're going to arrive, are they available? All that information so they can go and make decisions about when and where to catch those shuttles. And on the right side, here's access to our night cache as well. So students can go in and be able to see their balance, and they can even refill their cards as well directly on there. So they can know how much money do I have left if I'm gonna eat lunch today. So they have that information with them. Another example here from Old Dominion, where do I park? I really like this because in some campuses, garage A might be 2 miles away from garage H. And so simply knowing what's available may not be helpful enough. So where are you coming in? What direction are you coming on campus? What's the availability of that garage? So giving the application some information and helping and allowing it to help you make those right decisions about where to park. Here's one from Northern Michigan University, and they do a really good banner integration. And what's really cool about their banner integration is they do all the normal things you'd expect. Like here in the center, you can look at your grades and be able to see your grades without leaving the application. But I think they take it a step further. I really like what they do here on the right side, where there's a lot of snow in Northern Michigan. You could have classes canceled in the winter, maybe in the summer. They can go in and they can simply cancel their course with a tap of the button inside the app. They tap this button, sends a push notifications out to students, sends an email, and it notifies the building staff. So really empowering faculty members to be able to do something that used to take a long time, to be able to email everyone, contact this person, make sure everything's in line. You can do it with one button. Another one, FSU does a really good job with their SIS integration. I really like that it's platform agnostic. So you're not missing something. Times where you have to go to the web to get a specific piece of information because it's on the mobile device. Well, FSU doesn't want to see that. So they create an experience that is equivalent from what you have on the web to what you have on the phone, so that everyone has the same experience regardless of what platform they're on. And the last one here is the University of Houston. I really like the self-service support. So when you go there and you say contact IT support center, you have call, which I don't think a lot of students really want to call these days. But then you have text, and students love the text. So they can tap text. It will open up their messages inside their app. And when it does that, you could start having a one-to-one conversation with tech support, but it's also logging the fact that you had that conversation with them as well. So you're not losing anything. You don't have any siloed information. And at the bottom here, when you see service status, maybe I logged into Blackboard and it's not working. I can log into the application and I can say, well, the status is down. Maybe that's why. And maybe there'll be some explanation as well. So being able to see these different types of data and make these interactions are really, really powerful. Now, when we talked about crowdsourcing innovation, we've talked a lot about faculty and staff and alumni and other groups, but one group that's really hard to innovate with at times can be students. They can give you a lot of feedback, but there isn't a lot of opportunities to innovate. So one of the things that Modo Labs does that I really like, and we were really lucky to be part of this year, is something that they call the Ideathon. And what the Ideathon is that several different institutions participated, and they choose a weekend, and then they got student groups together, and those student groups were given essentially a sandbox from Modo Labs to work inside their platform. And because it's a no-code platform, they didn't have to spend a bunch of time learning the technology. They were able to build their own application that was focused on solving an issue on campus. everything from hunger to financial issues to mental health issues. And it was really great to see students just kind of share their ideas with us and let us know where they want the application to go. And at the end, they created 72 applications across these universities, many really wonderful applications. And on top of that, now you have students that know a lot about that platform, and you could hire them right away. I could have hired half the students probably the next day to work on our application. So that's really powerful, not just to get those ideas, but also find students that are genuinely interested in this technology. Sorry. And the last one I'm going to talk about right now is Elevate. And at Elevate, now we're up to that hyper-personalized experience that really drives student success, because ultimately, student success is why we're here. And the mobile app is a student mobile app, so driving success is paramount. So this is the best analogy I have for this. So, excuse me. The best analogy I have for hyper-personalization is my Apple Watch. So if I have my Apple Watch on and I'm sitting too long, it's going to say, hey, you should probably stand up. Standing up is a good way to be healthy. And you can see on the right side, it gives me that affirmation. Say, hey, you stood up. Good job. You're reaching your stand goal. So it's letting me know what to do, and it's helping correct bad behavior. Or here in the middle, let's say that you're almost there. You're almost there. Or if you get up and you take a 5-minute brisk walk, you're going to reach your goal. So that's what we look at hyper-personalization. The fact that all I have to do is wear this watch, and it knows enough about me just by wearing it that it can give me lots of really good information. And it can give me positive feedback. So one way that we do this at UCF is targeted push notifications. So targeted push notifications, what's really great about this is that, for instance, if a student were to open up the app and log in, our housing department here on campus knows enough about that student that they know even what community they live in. So they can go ahead and send a push notification out directly to students that live in that community, or even down to that floor to say, hey, there's a meeting tonight, or there's a water break, or there's some specific piece of information that you have to know that's relevant to you. Or hey, right here, grades are in. So students don't have to sit there keep waiting for grades. When they're in, they'll get a push notification and they go check their grades. So looking at making your notifications 100% relevant to the person that you're sending it to is really the kind of the heart behind targeted push notifications. Some really good examples I like as well, coming back to FSU, they use something called My Persona. So if I log into the application, it knows enough about me to present specific information in the app. For instance, I log in, it knows I'm graduate eligible. So now I'm going to start seeing this graduation section in the application, which is really powerful because I can, so it doesn't just let me know when graduation is, but it lets me know some of the keys to graduating. Who do I have to contact, who I have to interact with. Here in the center, we have employee view. So I'm an employee, so maybe I don't need to see some of the manager tools. So they disappear. Or another one, off-campus student. So off-campus student, you don't need the laundry. So you're off campus. But if you're on campus, you'll be able to see the status of the different laundry options on campus and the different washers and dryers and their statuses as well. So talking about simply just logging to the application, and that's all I need to do, and it starts learning things about me and giving me information that's relevant, going back to that Apple Watch. Another one from Berkeley College. I really like the My Profile section of this. This is the tablet view. So one of the things that we, I think, is really important for schools and students is knowing who their advisor is. Just knowing who their advisor is really key to being successful, because their advisor will help them pick out the right classes and help them stay on task. So in this instance right here, once I log in and look at my account, it tells me exactly who my advisor is, but I can take it a step further. I can go ahead and call them, I can email them, I can even schedule a meeting. That's pretty powerful. You're removing those barriers from, hey, I have to find out who my advisor is, and then I got to walk across campus to go talk to them. You have different ways to stay connected. And then also right here with these personalized notifications, again, talking about, hey, register now for your fall classes, or hey, you're fastest late, but not too late. So that 100% relevant information to that student is really powerful there. And the last example I want to talk about, I don't have any screenshots because I know this is in production, but it's the idea of student success powered by machine learning and mobile. And what I really like about this is that it's predictive. And a lot of the stuff that we've talked about today is more reactive. So we want to go ahead and be more predictive, more proactive to what we're doing. So let's say you have these unified data systems from your your SIS to your LMS to your financial aid, and then you have a system in there to be able to analyze that information and to be able to say, is this student heading to success or are they at risk? And then you can go ahead and create these dashboards so students can see that information and they're able to interact with it, they're able to make actions on that. So if they're at risk, they can go ahead and see that and be able to do something with it. Talking about we're not being reactive again, we're now being proactive. We're trying to help students out before there's issues involved. But maybe they start noticing some issues. They'll start getting some push notifications. And also their advisors will get push notifications as well, so they can be alerted to help out the students. So really, you're looking at creating these systems that are predictive, and they're able to display this information in a way that's very helpful. And what's really nice about this goes back to, this is kind of the top of hyper-personalization. This is, I give information and it knows enough about me to be able to help me be successful. Now, one thing I want to say is thank you to a lot of these schools that were in my presentation today. And the one thing that I really like about Modo Labs is having several hundred universities out there, is that there's a really strong community. There's an annual conference, the Krogo conference, there's Slack channels, and it's really nice to be able to communicate with these different schools, because I can talk to schools that are 2,000 students all the way up to 70,000 students as us, and I always learn something that I can bring back to my university. Now, kind of in closing here, so we've found a lot about UCF today. We saw, we have a lot of really great features, everywhere from our portal all the way down to our campus dining. It's a lot of great features. Our students are very happy with the application they have today. But does that mean this is where we stop? And the answer to that is no. You can never stop when you're working with mobile. You'll always have to innovate. So a couple things that we're looking at is, first thing is we have something called UCF Tips, and this is a partnership we have with LiveSafe, if you're familiar with LiveSafe and their safety product. And Modo Labs can integrate their safety product directly into our app. So we have the ability to do geofence locations and safe walk, but really the tip reporting is very powerful. Students can submit emergency and non-emergency tips directly to PD and other places on campus, and they can go ahead and have a two-way chat directly in our application. So it's really powerful, giving students the ability to do that. And the next one is making better dashboards, essentially, and displaying the data in a way that students can make better decisions, as you saw today with FSU and Berkeley College. ID card. This is actually a prototype that we built directly inside the Modo Labs platform of an ID card, starting to give students the ability to, maybe not unlock doors and maybe not pay for everything right away, but at least get discounts, be able to get into events, and start giving them that digital identity that they can use when they're out and about. And the last one is going back to this Ivy Tech, being more reactive, or being more proactive, but saying, hey Ryan, welcome to your senior year. This is what you have to do to graduate. Not saying, hey, you're going to graduate in 2 weeks, you didn't do all these things. So working on our personalized notifications to be more proactive. Now, one of the things that we always do is we come back to this transformation curve quite often, and we continually strive to get to elevate. We know the things that we need to reach that part. Now, you may have no app at your university. You might have a new app, or maybe you have an existing app that's been around for a while, and maybe either you're not satisfied with it, or maybe you think it needs something else. I think the key is don't get overwhelmed. When you look at this transformation curve, you really want to identify where you are. Once you can identify where you are, it really will help you build that path to the next generation application. With that, thank you, everyone.
Great. Well, thank you, Ryan. And let's see, looking in the console, it does look like we have a few questions. that I'm hoping you'll be able to answer for these folks. So the first is from Amy, who is curious to find out whether or not you've seen examples of institutions using products for prospective applicants.
Products for, yeah. So we don't do that at UCF, and I've talked to a couple different campuses that that are interested in that, and in having a way for students to be able to grab that information. I know there's some Salesforce integrations with Modo Labs, and our UCF Online is even looking at possibly.
But do you have a persona? Do you have a persona for prospective students?
We do not. We do not right now at this state. But what we're looking at is exploring those kinds of things, and how can we, get the students from interest all the way to alumni. So I don't have any examples with me, but there's definitely universities discussing how to do that.
Okay, so Amy, we can certainly share some examples of different Modo customers that are or have created a persona for prospective customers. Notre Dame, for example, I know is an account that does start their digital journey with prospective students at the time that they start becoming interested in the school. So we'd be happy to share that with you. So let's see. Next question is from Rick, and he's wondering how receptive different departments on your campus have been to maintain content within their respective areas. And is there a way that you, if you are able to include them in terms of providing that content, for you to be able to delegate them access and then be able to deploy that content once they have uploaded it?
Yeah, and I think I talked about that a little bit on a couple slides back, is that definitely departments are excited about being part of it. They're excited for having another channel, especially a non-traditional channel, to be able to expose the different content that they have. Modo Labs gives really great tools for delegation, just as we showed before. So we're able to give them specific information, give them access to the specific information in areas that they need, and we're able to allow them to deploy it on their own or set up a workflow for us to review it for deployment. So there's a lot of flexibility within the deployment channel with Modo Labs.
Okay. Let's see, we have a question here from Lalo, who is curious to find out how many people you have working specifically on the app.
So that's a question, that's one of the top questions I always get. I'm pretty much the main person working on the application here at the university. One slide I talked about, we're not experts at all things. I work with a lot of partnerships. I work with a lot of people across campus to set them up, for success with their content. But I'm really just the ringleader here, and I borrow some resources for some technical projects, but for the most part, it's me that handles the project on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so you had talked about some of the different personas that you have included in your app. Are you aware of a limit to the number of location and personas someone is able to create within their app?
Yeah, right now
I actually do.
Yeah.
Oops.
Sorry.
I was just going to say that so we have Matt Wilmore here from the product team that might be able to answer the aspect of the question related to the product capabilities.
Yeah. So we have.
Oh, Ryan, I'd like to hear your answer.
Yeah. Go ahead. So we have. We have a mix of locations and personas, and I would say, so we call them experiences. So we have 7 different experiences, as we showed here today. And from what I understand, there's no technical limitation to how many personas or locations that you can have. And said at UCF we have a few, but I know universities that are looking at having, upwards of 20 different personas or locations in their application, because they might have a lot of different satellite campuses or Commonwealth campuses. So.
That's right, and just to add on to Ryan's answer, there is no technical limit to the number of locations or personas that could be in a single application. It really depends on the use case for the institution. A lot of the campuses will just have a single location because they just have a main campus. But as schools have additional satellite locations, like Ryan said, or they have other maybe global sites, they may want to have different locations for that. And the benefit is that for the people who are in each location, you can give them a more individualized local experience. Things like transit options, maps, directories, indoor wayfinding may be different between buildings and even different locations. You can also message directly to those specific subgroups of users depending on where they physically are. And so it's not really the number of locations or personas that you can have, because we don't really have that cap, but it's more the number of locations and personas that makes sense for each school.
Great, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
And it looks like we have time for one more question, which is, what back-end systems do you integrate with in order for students to see both their academic and financial standings?
Yeah, we integrate with PeopleSoft. We integrate with PeopleSoft we use the Gray Heller Appsian product to be able to mobilize our essentially our portal or SIS system. And we also use integrations for class course search as well, so students can be able to find their courses directly in the application.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us. And as mentioned earlier, we will be sending out the recording of today's presentation. And thank you, Ryan, for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.